So on the underside of my clay here, I dug up in the underside because I know like that's not going to be seen. Okay, it's going to be attached down onto the rock that I built. And so that significantly made it much lighter. All right. Wherever your sculpture is a ½ inch or thicker, you're going to want to hollow some clay out just so it's lighter. It's actually stronger when it's like around ¼ inch, 3/8 of an inch thick. That's like its strongest point. And it's not so bulky and it'll dry out. Okay, and that's the important thing. If it's super thick, it won't dry out for firing. And if there's water inside of your sculpture and you put it in the kiln, it's going to blow up. And so by hollowing it, you ensure that it's going to dry out. It's still strong and it's much lighter, so it's just way better. So I dug out from his belly, the underside that won't be seen, as much clay as I could. And what you do is you go around and you feel how thick the walls are. And if it feels a little bit thicker, you can scoop a little bit more out. If it feels really thin, you know, you need to be careful because you don't want to scoop too much. And so just taking, you know, the end of a tool or whatever, where it feels thicker, just take some clay out. It doesn't have to look pretty because this is all of this is unseen, right? This won't be ever seen. Okay, so you get the idea. So if you have a situation where you can do that, do it. That's great. But for example, I dug up into the neck as much as I could with my tool, but I didn't want to go too much further. And I have this whole head that's really thick, right? It's like, you know, 3 inches thick in any direction. So I have to deal with it another way. And so you really want to make sure that your clay is leather hard before you get to this point. If it's too wet, then you're going to lose the form of your clay. It's going to deform too much. So you want it to be able to hold its form, but you still need it to be able to cut and all that stuff. So you have to find the right point of leather hard. Then you really just want to find a spot that looks like a good spot to cut. And so for me, I'm going to go around like the hairline around the back, and then I'm just going to pull through to the chest. It's not going to, you know, exactly match up on the hairline where I want it to, or where I ideally would want it to, but then I would have to like cut down into the arms. So I'm just going to take it here and then pull it through right here like this. Voila. Okay, so my head is off, and you can actually see where I dug up into the neck over here, a little hole. I'll show you. And so now that this is open, I can go in and I can scoop a little bit more thickness out of here, which is good. A ¼ inch thick is ideal. So a ¼ inch, guys, is about the width of your pinky nail probably. If you really want to make sure you measure a ¼ inch exactly, just go get a ruler. Okay, so scoop a little bit out here, that's cool. Just taking a little bit more weight out of it. So now what do we do here? Well, I could just go up in here, I suppose, if I wanted to. Or I could cut the head in half again and then scoop it out. Like, let's say like his face, it's just a little bit too thick. So I could actually like cut this way on it and then have two halves and be able to scoop out those halves. So because I want you to know how to do this, I'm going to do this. I don't necessarily need to, but I'm just going to go right down the middle. Bang. Okay. And you guys probably think I'm crazy just cutting my sculpture all up. So now it's in two halves. And now basically what I do is I just hollow out this half. And what I want, I'll even draw like a line for you guys to see, is I want to scoop all that clay out on both halves. And so scoop a little bit and then feel, right? The whole thing is like taking your two fingers and feeling how thick the walls actually really are. And take them down to about a 1/4 inch and then you're in business. A lot of people get nervous doing this, and I obviously totally get it. But scoring and slipping, this thing's going to come back together, and if you do it well, there will be no memory of the fact that you did this. And so just go in and feel. Take out anywhere that feels a little bit extra thick. Get it down to, you know, anything thinner than a 1/2 inch. Try to get it to a 1/4. And that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so do that on both sides. Okay. And again, a light and strong sculpture is our goal. Quarter-inch walls are the ideal. All right, and so that's pretty good. Feels pretty good to me. And so then these things would fit back together like this. They may have deformed a little bit while you did that, but you can kind of just nudge it back into place. And then these guys will fit on here. And you're gonna have to nudge them back into place a little bit as well. And really the big thing is that after you score and slip it, then you're gonna have an opportunity to really match everything up perfectly again. Okay? You may even need to add some clay or blend some clay. But I think we're in pretty darn good shape here. Although my sculpture currently is beheaded. Everybody still with me? Everybody cool?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Did I like hollow out the tail?
Well, again, so it's a judgment call on your part. If it's thicker than an inch, and so if you're not exactly sure what an inch is, you should go measure. Take a measurement, you know, get a ruler or something. But if it's thicker than an inch, now you're really risking it not being able to dry out. If it's less than an inch thick, then I think you're, you know, you're okay. You just got to really make sure it takes the time to dry out and, you know, whatever. But any parts, like the belly of it, any parts that are like definitely thick, you got to do this. Okay? You got to do it. So I'm going to move on to the next step here if you guys are okay with that. So then where we cut, you have to score it. And so when you score, of course, remember, always go in a cross-hatching pattern. So 2 different directions and really scramble it up. And score both sides, of course. Okay, and then get your slip on there. And so put a large amount of, well, enough slip that it's totally covered. And when you squeeze them together, you want so much slip that it's oozing out. Somebody have a question? I'm not sure who's saying that, but it was just really faint. Like I couldn't really tell exactly what you were saying. Okay, well, we have all the slip in there. We're scored on both sides. And now press it back together so the seam is oozing slip. Like slip is just, we're putting medium pressure together. So all that slip is oozing out of where we cut. Don't put heavy pressure, but you got to make sure that the entire thing is being pressed together. Okay, and then once you've pressed that together, you should just go and you should wipe the slip out of the seam that's oozed out, the extra slip. And you just really only have to do this on the outside. You can leave the inside go. And then go and pressure in again so more slip oozes out. And basically all you want to do is you want the line to disappear. And you can see like little bits of slip oozing out each time I press. And then I just take it off. I do this at this stage because it's leather hard and it's perfect to get it done. But I haven't done like all the tiny details and textures yet because all of this handling of the clay, you're gonna have to go back and redo those things anyway. But the actual form itself, you know, will be pretty much completely intact. But the surfaces are going to get a little bit screwed up from handling it so much. And then once you pressure it together and you feel like there's not much more pressuring that you can do, and that line is really nice and tight. The only thing that's really going to make sure that it's good is time, right? Just give it time to heal, and it will. And then you can blend a little bit. So I can kind of take my finger or take a tool and just, or basically just erasing the line. Just erase it, rub it, so that it's totally gone. Be no more memory of it. And then that's that, okay? And once this thing heals after a little while, then I'll go back and I'll start getting back into my sculpture and details and things. But I'm gonna let this thing heal just like you would a cut, right? You gotta just give it a little bit of time to heal itself up, and then it'll be good and strong, okay? And so score and slip job here, the two halves together. Right now I have my hollow head that really is working nicely. And then I got to score and slip this back down onto the body. And it fits pretty darn good like that. Okay. And same deal, right? I'm gonna score it. On both sides, and I'm going to put that slip in, and I'm going to make sure that slip is oozing, and I'm going to pressure down. Same exact process, and then I'll let it heal. Okay, so the goal, guys, is to have for next class your hollowing and your attaching of your separate pieces done. So all your scoring and slipping done for next class, and have it be healed. Okay? And then basically it's just those last details to be finished. So we're coming up to the end of this thing here, and you guys have done an incredible job. But there's a lot of little things to do at this point, where if you neglect those little things, then you could wind up with some results that you're not quite as happy with, that could have been avoided had you done all the little things in the process. So just make sure from this point forward, you're doing all these little things to get it totally finished. Okay? And so that's really all I got for today. I'm going to continue working on mine, right? Getting this score and slip job good and attached and smoothed out. I'm going to let my sculpture heal for a little bit. You know, maybe like just whatever, an hour or so. And letting it heal means it can also like actually be wrapped up in your plastic. Like it doesn't have to be drying out. It just has to be resting with itself and letting the slip kind of work its way into the clay body. And that's all I got. Anybody got any questions or comments? Did you enjoy my demonstration? Is anybody listening to me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my bad.
Thank you, Sadie. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks, guys. Is anybody absolutely frightened that they have to cut their sculpture up now? Well, Joey, yours probably you could get away with not cutting it up, because you could probably just scoop out from the bottom the head part, and the tentacles are probably small enough where you don't really have to do anything to them, right? If they're less than an inch thick, then you're fine.
So when we finish this, like fully finish it, what do we do with it? Because like usually we would put it to get fired, but obviously we can't do that now.
Well,
and I don't want it to go.
So I wouldn't let it get bone dry yet. Is this Justice talking?
Yeah.
I wouldn't let it get bone dry yet because I'm going to do one more class, one more demo, just on tiny little details, just to show you guys like how I do like those types of things. And you obviously at that point still need it to be leather hard. But we are gonna, like, after we move on to the next project, we are gonna just leave them out to get bone dry. And we're just assuming that at some point we'll either be back in the building or you'll be able to come drop off your work for firing.
Okay.
And so we just don't know exactly what the future holds yet, but I don't know. I guess there's been a lot of talk of maybe going back or something. So we'll see. And so I just keep on going around, keep on smoothing and pressuring. My hands are on the inside here, kind of bracing it just to make this attachment as strong as I can. And then I'll go back and fix all the, whatever my fingers did to the forms that didn't quite exactly stay what they were. I mean, they're close, they're darn close, but I'll just go back and fix it anyway. I didn't do any surfaces or textures for that very reason. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty good right there, I think. I'm happy with it. And now my sculpture is like way lighter, so much lighter. And you can see up in there, the hole goes all the way up in there. Really good, really, really good. Yeah, all right. Well, there you have it, kids. Rock and roll. That's all I got for you. I'm going to make this into a YouTube video, and you can always go back and